Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. Scott Fischer with Options for Senior Living. And you are listening to Don't Let Haboob Hit You in the Face. Aaron, have you ever heard of Haboob before you moved to Arizona?
No, I hadn't. And, the funniest thing is, I move here in May and I, come down and obviously the summer is crazy hot and everything. They don't tell you about these things. And, you're sitting on your porch some night and then you just see this huge dust storm fly up
Y-
and it's nothing I've ever seen before. So absolutely.
Exactly. So over my shoulder, that is Arizona State University last summer being swallowed by the haboob, the dust cloud that nobody knew was coming. Aaron, I threw you right into it right away, but let me explain to everybody what we're doing here. Options for Senior Living, I started back in 2003 helping families navigate the complexities of long-term care. Family members were feeling the pain of their loved ones, their aging loved ones who are now experiencing challenges with their health, challenges in their decision making, and all of these things. And there's a lot of signs, guys. There's a season for these things. Just like in the summertime, it's the season for these storms. They don't tell you what to look for. They don't tell you that it's coming. And the truth of it is, we all left for work that morning, and we were driving down the road, and we came back at dinner time, and that's what we drove through. That dust storm was 65 miles wide, a mile high. That's almost half or two-thirds of the coverage of Maricopa County. Behind it was 100-mile-an-hour winds and crazy rain, and nobody knew it was coming.
No, and it's just these crazy things. The most scariest part of that was looking at the planes taking off from the Phoenix airport and seeing the dust storm behind them. What a crazy time that was. So
It
I think
was
it's a
it was
podcast name as well. And it kind of, emulates kind of what we're talking.
Yeah, and so you guys in the season, our loved ones now are going through stuff, and the families I've worked with have been sideswiped or blindsided or taken off guard by the haboob. And so this is it. We talk about these things. I have colleagues and professionals on as my guests who have various perspectives and experiences working with families or working with these individuals. Our audience is for those professionals that maybe do, and you've never thought about some of the ins and outs of all this. We want to bring some things to the table today. If you are an adult child, I just lost my mother. I am talking to those of you that are 45 to 65 years old, and you still have a loved one who is now seeing some changes and maybe some shifts in their healthcare. We're talking to you because the reality of this is heavy. It's full of sadness. Full of restlessness, regret. I'm telling you, it is a cauldron of emotions. And so, Aaron, I've talked plenty, man. I want to hear from you. My guest today is Aaron Randak from the Golden Acre Wealth Management firm. Aaron's a financial advisor, and he helps families with all aspects of financial planning, and that's a super big part of what we talk about here on the show. Aaron, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, man. Good to see your face.
Yeah, likewise, Scott. And I appreciate you having me on. As Scott mentioned, Golden Acre Wealth Management. I'm based out here in Scottsdale, Arizona, originally from the Midwest, such as Scott is. So I'm from Iowa, so kind of have the Midwest roots there. That was the whole kind of thought process behind Golden Acre. Grew up on a farm and everything. So absolutely, I kind of see this happening both with clients
Mm.
as well as in my own family. So I kind of understand the ins and outs of that as well, and kind of more the technical side of it that you don't really think of.
Talk a little bit about, let's just start. You brought it up, and we were talking before we started about the Midwestern values, growing up on a farm. One of my dearest friends and my mentor, Aaron, in business and so many aspects of life. I met Greg and his wife over 30 years ago, and he lives in a little farming community outside of Abilene, Kansas. It's farmland, man. His dad
What's
was a
there?
farmer. Greg was a farmer. Greg taught me how to think about long term and don't hurry the process. Super important aspects to, I'm sure, what you're trying to accomplish for the families you're helping, right?
Right. And we were, as you mentioned, we were kind of talking before about like what is this Midwest value thing. You meet a lot of people from the Midwest out here in the Phoenix area, and it's just fantastic. You kind of have this camaraderie already kind of established. And it's just something that you can't really quantify, but you kind of, it's a unwritten rule of some sort. that you have between, you and somebody else from the Midwest. And I think it kind of comes with the name of the game is you want to see the other person do well. You're kind of rooting for each other. And I think there's something to that. And I mean, to be completely honest with you, that's kind of where my, most successes coming from people from the Midwest who are moving out here and I don't know what to do or, who do I talk to? And it's this guy moved from Iowa. So then there you go. So that's kind of, you almost have that introduction right away already set up. And I truly have seen success from just people that move from the Midwest and are like, okay, well, at least get somebody I can relate to. Right. So
Try.
kind of having in place. And then you're also, that kind of breaks that first wall. Like, meeting with I'll speak personally, like when you're meeting with an advisor or something like that, there's certainly, I mean, it takes a long time to build that rapport, and being able to talk to somebody from the Midwest or have something in common with them really lets you jump in right away, as opposed to letting that slowly nurture over time, especially when we're having these conversations like we are today about whether it's a big incident or you're planning for some sort of end of life care or anything like that. These are things that a lot of times are put off for years and years and years. And we kind of need to attack some of these issues right away. Again, having that rapport right away is huge. I absolutely love it. I love meeting with people from the Midwest and people that have always lived out here or whatever the case may be, but there's something special about people from the Midwest.
Well, everybody lives here in Phoenix is pretty much from somewhere else except for my
Right.
kids. You know what I mean? They were born here, but most everybody I know has an identity somewhere.
Yep.
And that Midwestern identification allows, I think, opens the door to trust much more quickly. And if I'm going to hand over my life savings or you're going to help me develop a game plan so that I can retire on time, man, trust is an important aspect of this. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, and I kind of want to pigeonhole this as well as kind of the interfamily trust as well. So I think there's kind of two aspects of this. Is one, if you're going externally out of the family to work with people, to work with professionals like you, Scott, or like myself, there has to be some sort of trust and some sort of rapport there. So however you look to develop that, that's something you need to have in place when you're meeting with these professionals. Because if you're looking for an advisor, you're not necessarily just going to look at one person. You're going to look at a bunch of different people. You have to have something in common there, something that you can kind of tangibly tell that, you can have a good conversation. You can go out to lunch with this person. So I think one, having that trust with the professionals in your life is absolutely huge. And it's going to be a lot easier for you to have those more difficult conversations down the road with that person. But I think maybe more importantly is the trust within the family. So having the ability to have these difficult conversations with your family members, especially if you're the one aging, I got a stat here that, you know, 7.2 million Americans have Alzheimer's or dementia. Like, that's a crazy amount of the population. That's expected to triple by 2060. So there's more and more of these cases that are popping up, and you have to have somebody you trust within the family to help manage your finances, to help facilitate those conversations with the
Yeah.
professional. I've seen this in my own life. I'm very, very close with my grandfather, and he's 90 years old now.
Mm.
Being able to be the person, I serve both roles for him, right? Which is fantastic to see kind of both sides of it. But man, I mean, it's just seeing that and having that in place now is so beneficial, especially, he's doing fantastic, but I mean, this is kind of the nature of how things go, right? He's 90 years old, so things are slipping, right? So having that in place is absolutely massive. I mean, another
Yeah.
thing to throw in there, Scott, before I kind of stop rambling here, is for those family members that you trust, I think it's very important to look at doing power of attorneys. So having that in place and having somebody that is capable, trustworthy, and will act in your best interest is absolutely huge, especially as you start to age out. And having somebody younger in place is just going to, kind of set yourself up for success in transitioning your wealth to the next generation.
Well, I'm so glad you said that. Thank you. That's one of my pet peeves. I've had a handful of attorneys on the show, and we've each talked about when powers of attorney are not executed, how that could, you thought you had problems, and then you got those issues on top of the problems, the storm that hit you and sent you
Right.
spinning. You also mentioned about planning to get these things done. I think this is going to give you a wonderful experience. Of course, being so close to your grandfather and having dual roles in his life, you know, it's gonna help your sensitivity and awareness, I think, and eyes to be looking at things. Because dadgummit, if Americans aren't good at one thing, it's good at waiting until there's a mess on their hands. And
Absolutely.
we just spend too much time cleaning up messes when we could just learn to from experts to, and that's what the show's about. It's like, listen to
Right.
us. It's
And it ties in so perfectly with one, the name of the show is it gives me a little chuckle. It's funny, but it's very real. Like you have to be ahead of these things. You have to plan for them. I got another stat. 16% of adults over 65 have a durable power of attorney in place. Like where's the other 84%? They
that's
don't have a
it.
plan. They're not ready to go. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So you just have to have something like that in place, or at least a process, whether it's, something, a springing power of attorney is when you're actually, declared, incompetent, I guess would be the best way I'd say it. But having some sort of plan in place is just crucial for that to be,
Mhm.
executed properly. And another point I want to bring up that I have personal experience with is make sure those power of attorneys are on file with the financial institutions that you're working with. Just because you have it signed doesn't mean that you're able to execute these things right away, because they have to go through an approval process, make sure that the language is proper in these power of attorneys. So if those aren't on file already with your institution, you're not going to be able to make quick action when these sudden situations comes up and maybe you need to access, X amount of dollars
Yeah.
for an emergency situation.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for saying all that. It is, been the counsel of some of the attorneys we've talked to as well, Aaron, that is particularly for the durable financial power of attorney, that thing be updated every couple of years. And you go back and it's a little bit of a hassle, but when it's 7 years old or it was executed in 2006 back in Chicago, and now you're living here, the bank ain't gonna want to hear it. They're not gonna, and you're gonna end up in probate, and it's gonna take a long time to access those real monies. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna borrow your statistic there. That 16% is a big number,
Go right
man.
ahead.
Or the 84% is a bigger number.
Right.
So, what do you think? So, I make a joke about Americans are good at waiting. Why do you think we do? What is it? What's in our culture that keeps us from planning and acting as opposed to reacting?
Well, I don't know exactly what the magic touch is. I know for myself, I'm stubborn. I'm hard headed and things like that. I'm hopefully not close to, aging out or anything like that. But I can imagine when I'm in that scenario too, I'm gonna want to be the one in control. I'm, a control freak. I want to have my hands on it, right? That's why I started a business. I'm in control. I got to, it's tough to relinquish that feeling and that sense of certainty when you know you're in
Mm,
control and you know that you have the ability. It's just so tough to recognize, like,
yeah,
okay, now is time to have that difficult conversation. We naturally avoid those conversations, right? Like, think of everyone in their day-to-day life. I mean, how many times has there been a situation that comes up where one difficult conversation could have solved, so many problems? Having that difficult conversation with a spouse, with a parent, with a grandparent, brother, sister, whatever the case may be. So I
yeah,
think naturally have built to go away from those difficult conversations. It takes a little rewiring to be able to set yourself up and be like, okay, I'm ready to relinquish a little control and to have that
mhm,
difficult conversation. And I kind of I really, I feel for the people that, struggle with that. And I also commend everybody who actually does go forward in that
yeah,
conversation.
yeah. How have you approached it with your grandfather in terms of him relinquishing some insight to not feel less of a man or less of a grandfather by allowing, his grandson into some of his personal thinking or private spaces? That silent generation your grandfather's a part of, they're a hard group of dudes, man. They
Yeah,
survived the depression, the war. They don't want to be taken care of. They want to retain responsibility, even while they're making us all crazy with their privacy and their heroic strength. It causes more problems. So we all have to, as families, got to get on the page with them. And I think a third party like you as a financial guy can help the parties speak to each other more efficiently, don't you think?
facilitate that conversation.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And I'll speak a little bit personally about my grandfather. He farmed in Northeast Iowa his entire life. You mentioned he went through the 80s when the farm crisis happened. I mean, he's seen it all, and he's gone through it all. Him and his wife of for 55 years until she passed away in 2021. I mean, that was how it was done, right? So being able to flip thinking of somebody who's, we started these conversations when he was in his 80s, being able to flip the thinking for somebody who's that age, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to be able to completely turn their brainstem around and switch how they view these certain topics. But the way that we've approached it is, it's over time, it's just slowly increased in exposure and control for me in terms of his personal life, what he does on a day-to-day basis, where his expenses go, what his financial accounts look like, power of attorney and everything like that. These things have just slowly developed over time. And that's really been the best way to do it, because we didn't have a haboob hit us in the face. We just slowly started developing these conversations.
Beautiful.
And when, he understood, he saw that I had the knowledge of these things. And once that happened, then the walls came down. Then he's like, okay, like, Aaron, here's where we stand. And to be completely honest, he hasn't been very transparent with the rest of, the family on these things. But because I have been, I have this acumen, he's slowly opened these things up to me, and he's allowed me to understand more and more of kind of his whole situation. And I mean, growing up, it was just me and him farming together and everything like that. So we certainly have that bond that, there might not be for, other families, but if you can slowly develop that over time, that's going to be
You're
by far the best way to do that.
that that's gold, Aaron. The slow over time. I would say to my mother for years, and I'd said it to my clients longer than I said it to my mom. I never want to do anything to you. It's always within four. However, mom, if and when the time comes, your decisions are affecting your safety and you're not seeing it, I will assert myself more into. And of course, my mom then fought back when I was asserting myself when the time came. But it is always best in love with frequency and care. A guy like your grandfather, I wrote down the word self-reliance. I can't imagine a guy that runs a big farm is calling a repair guy for everything or a fertilizer. If there's an issue, he's fixing it. He's dealing with it.
Yep.
He's repairing his own tractor some days. He's doing whatever he's doing, right? So
Yeah,
self-reliance, he is the beginning and the end of his world. And now to have to ask his grandson for help is a
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah,
And
you guys, this is
yeah, I want to just hammer home the point of this. Like, that's where I get my, hard headedness from sometimes too, is, the independence that comes with, living a life like that
yeah,
is something that, a lot of people don't experience, and kind of that middle millennial generation hasn't necessarily experienced as much as kind of I guess you'd call it like the boomer generation or the generations prior. So that's certainly something that is just a huge, huge thing. You're not prepared to necessarily have that conversation. You've done it all yourself, like you said.
yeah. You to our listeners, we're here for you. I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these conversations. Aaron's had lots of, and he's doing these all the time, and it's in his practice as well as in his family. And so our families don't love to take input. Honor to you, man, for that. Your grandfather's listening to you. Many family members. My brother's a surgeon, and I do what I do. My mom would go like, "Let me think about it." Just like, whatever, mom.
All right. Yeah.
Man,
And
hey,
I guess that's what you do too. If I could just, sorry, Scott, I keep jumping in here,
I don't
is to
know.
make sure that, if you give them choices, if you give them two good choices, then they also still feel like they have a say in what happens, right? It's kind of a mental reframing, right, of this whole situation. If you can frame it in a way, these two things are both going to be good for you. You pick now. It's in your hands. It's still in your control. Framing it like that is very good.
Well, that's fantastic. That's also a gold nugget is choices, and nobody wants to have anything shoved down their throats. We want to retain some agency to make those decisions. This has flown by. I got a couple things I want to ask you about, and I
Sure.
think I could kind of wrap it together because I think I've been curious. When I've known other financial advisors over the years, I've always been struck by their heart. They're almost like social workers, man. They are the beginning and the end of their clients' lives. They've walked
Yep.
through seasons of their lives with their clients. They've brought in kids, they've married their kids, they've now they're planning their retirements. You work with people for years and years in some cases. And I've always been struck by um the heart of people that are in your space. It's not just selling them product and getting in this fund or getting that fund. You're a fee only guy. Would you talk a little bit about that concept and how that role as an advisor and the evolution of your role and relationship with your clients? Because ultimately they're going to cross this bridge into these spaces with a loved one or their own lives, and that heart of a social worker is really going to come forward.
Scott, I really appreciate the way that you frame that as well, with the fee only being a huge part of the way I design my practice, the way that I try to run my practice in terms of I want to go to my client's wedding. I want to go to my client's kid's graduation. I want to go someday to my client's funeral, right? Like these are things that I want to be intentional about, and I want to be very intentional about, making sure that the client understands that I'm acting in their best interest and I'm legally required to do so. I'm under a fiduciary responsibility as a fee only RIA. And that is certainly something that a lot of advisors don't have. And a lot of advisors aren't held to that high of standard. And just a quick kind of nugget on what the fee only means. The only money that I make is directly from the client, is coming out of the client, paying me directly. I don't make money from insurance companies. I don't make money for selling funds. I don't make money of any of those sorts besides what the client pays me. And therefore, that allows me to act in the client's best interest.
Gotcha. Yeah, thank you. And I think when people have peeled back this placement business that I've been involved in for 23 years, Aaron, we represent really senior living, not the clients. We get paid a referral fee by senior living, and we
Yep.
don't represent the client. And there's a lot of guys that run around and do what I do, and they're not grounded in a best practice. They're not grounded in a code of ethics. And
Yep.
so they may be influenced by the community or the home paying a higher fee. They could be prompted to move people multiple times very
Yep.
discreetly for multiple fees. There's a lot of jinkiness in my industry that I've stood up against and been an advocate for the industry over the years. But I love, and I think so many people are attracted to the concept of that you work for them, right?
Yep.
You work for them, and it's on
Yep.
the line every year. And if they're not happy, they can go down the road, but you're not selling them what they don't need.
Right. And that's the trend in the industry now too, is more and more people are going to this fee only model. And I
Good.
think that's fantastic. And a lot of times the client's paying less all in anyways when they go to a fee only advisor. I mean, it's just right there in front of you. This is the fee. And then
Mhm.
that's it. You're not paying a fee for, certain annuities or whatever the case may be, not to poo poo on those, but that's kind of, the way it's structured is they're structured to fee in multiple ways in those products,
Yeah.
so it essentially disguises the amount of, that they're actually getting on, kind of a recurring basis.
Yeah. Can I stretch you out for one more thought?
Let's do it.
So, all right. So I'm just going to ask, I'm going to say a question. You just say whatever comes to your mind here. I wish
Okay.
more people would.
Well, that's a great question. I think the best way to kind of relate this to the conversation that we're having is to be more transparent earlier. And that's both with your family, with your financial professionals in your life. It kind of goes both ways there, but especially I
Yeah.
want to hammer home is be more transparent with your family, because either way, they're going to, get a picture of, the nest egg that you, and having those conversations now and explaining to them while you're in a good frame of mind and while you can understand these decisions that you've made, explaining to them, here's what we have set up. This is how everything looks. Here's why I did it this way. Here's how it's going to benefit you. Here's how it's going to benefit the family. Having that conversation early is one, going to tear down those walls that we've built up over time because you didn't want to have the difficult conversation. But having that conversation will, one, allow you to become closer to your family and become
Yeah.
closer to your financial professionals, especially in this day and age where it's difficult for an older, whether it's a couple or the spouse has died or whatever the case may be. It becomes more and more difficult for them to connect with the younger generation, and having that conversation early while you're in the good
Mm.
frame of mind is going to benefit you so much as you go along, and kind of, hopefully, end your life in a positive manner with your family around you and your family support.
My pastor years ago used to say this, that I could only love you to the degree that you let me love you. And
Yep.
so for our silent generation and our baby boomer parents, please allow us to love you. It's our turn now. That's one of the things we came up with this last year. Aaron is an adult child. We say it all the time. It's our turn now to love and care for those who cared for us. We want to help people before the crisis. We're here for you in the crisis. If you find yourself in the middle of this Haboob thing, we're here. We know the way through it. But man, we would love to steer you around some of the obvious or help you bring light to what some of the issues that are going on that they could prevent a major event. Aaron, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I would love for you to share your website, contact information. If people want to get a time to chat with you, how do people do that?
Yeah, the website's the best place to go for that. goldenacrewealth.com. From there, you can schedule a meeting. My phone number and email are both on there as well. Happy to chat with somebody. If you don't know if you're ready to work with an
Mm.
advisor, or you kind of don't know where you stand, happy to just have that initial conversation. It's no cost, it's no commitment to you. I'll buy you lunch or whatever the case may be. Having that conversation will just go so far in helping out your financial life. And I'm more than happy to have that conversation with you.
There are people that might be listening to this and whose parents or clients are having to sell property to pay for their long-term care. That's a reality that happens to families every week. Now you find yourself with 2, 3, 500 grand, $1 million. What the heck do you do with it? You just put it in a savings account? You put that. This is the time to talk to Aaron to help develop a family strategy with those larger chunks, right? So that care can be taken care of and the rest of the family issues are addressed, the legacy needs of the loved one, whatever is needed to be funded or taken care of. My golly, that's the time to talk to you, right?
Yep. I want to end with a quote. One of my favorite quotes: "Fail to prepare, prepare to fail." That's kind of, the life saying of these things, and especially in your finances. Let's get that money working for you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that very, very much. And tell you what, let's plan on another conversation down the road, man. I'm sure we'll have
Yep.
more things to talk about as time goes on. And we'd love to have you back and update us on things that you're thinking about. And I really appreciate all the really strong points and wise things that you shared today.
Well, thank you,
To our
Scott.
audience, yeah, go ahead.
No, I appreciate you having me on. I'm more than happy to have a follow up conversation here.
So super good. You guys, I started Options for Senior Living in 2003, like I said, to help families navigate the complexities of all these issues and help you find the long-term care solution. Options is a no cost to family service. We're here to help you navigate, figure it out, get the right resources in place. If it involves finding placement, we do that all day long, every day. But if it's in terms of helping you find care in the home or resources to help support you in the journey for a while, do not miss the opportunity to call us and touch base with us. We have also set up, Aaron, for your clients and everybody listening, we've set up a private Facebook group called the Aging Parent Tribe. The Aging Parent Tribe is a private group for guys my age and professionals that have something to share with this group of people. And so we have well over 700 members of the tribe today, and we are looking to add to those numbers all the time. It's a safe place where those individuals could come and get resources, support. They could come in and throw up if you're frustrated and overwhelmed. We invite those conversations, and the group is there to support you. You will not be hit with professionals pounding you for their business or your business. Aging Parent Tribe on Facebook. Join us and be a part of that conversation. Until next time, this is Don't Let Haboob Hit You in the Face. Scott Fischer signing off. Take care.